intro. And we are back. This is Two Coaches, One Grizz. I'm Frank Morales with our esteemed head coach emeritus, Gil Laura, our mega fan, the Garbata. Gentlemen, how are we? It's been a nice little vacay. Had a lot of little vacations going on, spring break. And I had to take care of mind, body, and soul. Coach, how we doing?
Thankful to be here. It was some needed time off. But I'm glad to be back. Excited to be back. There's a lot of things going on. Last 3 weeks have been exciting. March Madness. Some deals made, not made. The best quarterback in the NFL wants maximum money and can't
baby.
get it. Not. It's just so much going on.
Watch your mouth.
Well, yeah, I'm also glad to be back. You gentlemen had fun on your vacations. The Grizz had to hold it down here. The month of March was my hibernation month. Just taking it in, watching the madness, not having to worry about speaking about the madness. But I'm ready to go at it because let me tell you, it was a great tournament. If you are a Miami Hurricane, men's and women, no matter what, we didn't finish off the deal on both sides. But let me tell you, we got further in both than ever expected. And I am officially here to say the U is a basketball town, baby.
In your wildest dreams, would you have ever thought that?
Never, especially the two-time ACC champs.
It's impressive. It's impressive
Good football hasn't won.
It's impressive that they were Elite Eight last year, Final Four this year, played really, really well, and only lost to the eventual champions UConn.
Both times, by the way.
So-
Last year, we lost to the eventual champs, Kansas. And this year, we lost to UConn. And we got, moral victories are not what we need. But, hey, we only lost by 13, the lowest amount to said champion. We did not allow it to be the 15 and over like every other game. They I give it to UConn. They were they were a
juggernaut.
Juggernaut.
Oh my gosh.
Where did they come from? Why weren't they like this the whole year? But they found it at the right time.
I'll be honest with you. They were a preseason favorite.
Well, they weren't. Remember, they weren't ranked preseason. Then they started out nice and hot and got ranked quickly.
Preseason, they were named again.
Right.
Some of the things that I look at, Ken Palm, they were a preseason favorite to be in there. They started out the year super hot. Then they hit this little bump in the road.
They had a snag.
Well, they lost 6 out of 7.
Well, remember, the only games they've lost all year were to Big East opponents. Against everybody outside the Big East, they were undefeated.
But they lost, like I said, they had some hiccups, and that kind of notched them down. But they came in, and like you said, off of the Big East tournament, and they were red hot and never looked back.
They were a bunch of trees.
That Sunogo guy, let me tell you, Sunogo is impressive. He plays so well on the low post.
He's getting himself an NBA paycheck just from this tournament.
Yes. And then the 7-foot tree that guy was so hard.
But everybody on their team was taller than our tallest guy. It was just stupid.
They were disgusting.
And you can't, unfortunately, if they're hitting all their threes and they're just getting every rim, you can't win. It's great.
Yeah, no, listen, by all accounts, some would say that it was an overachieving year by UM, but they did have the SEC Player of the Year in Wong, right? And then in consecutive games, Sweet 16 and Elite 8, they knock out number 1 Houston and then knock out number 2 Texas. So they're definitely of that ilk now, and I think especially with NIL money and the way that the landscape
transfer portal helped them a lot as well.
Transfer portal, NIL money,
Right.
they're going to be here to stay.
Well, we got to see now who stays. We got to see who comes in. We see how recruiting goes. And again, and it's funny because just a year ago, we were talking about when Mario got on board for football. We were talking about Larrañaga. And hey, we know what's going on with him. He's not doing that well. He may have to move on. And all of a sudden, he's had the 2 best seasons back to back in the history of UM basketball.
And I've heard and I've listened to some pundits who are very well versed in the basketball realm. Mike Wilbon being one of them, actually going as far as to say that Larrañaga should be considered for the Hall of Fame, taking 2 non-traditional teams to the Final Four.
Again, he's done a great job. He's reinvented himself. These kids love him. These kids really play for him, which is, again, with today's athletes is important. They really like him a lot. He does a good job with them. I think he's schematically sound. So again, we'll see what happens next year. Recruiting is always. It's what have you done for me lately? So we'll see.
I
how it
will
goes
say
next
this
year.
about Larry
I know
Naga.
Duke is going to be real tough in the ACC next year.
Duke will always come back, and North Carolina will rebound. It's just blue bloods will be blue bloods. However, the Hall of Fame thing, and I believe he's Hall of Fame worthy. The problem is in the NBA, I think they let everybody
in.
I mean, it's they had like 12 people going this year, and it's the whole basketball Hall of Fame. So it takes into consideration everything. So college, pro, everybody goes in all at once. I think he deserves it because he's won a lot of games. He's taken teams that have not been normally good because I think another decade ago he did take won an ACC championship, took him to a Sweet 16. So he's been doing this very well, and they wanted him out a few years ago because of his age. But as great coaches have shown, you can coach to your late 70s, and I think he's got another 5 years.
He also had a few years of mediocrity. I mean, he wasn't able to build off of that Sweet 16 run.
But it's hard because you were dealing with Krzyzewski and Williams still upper echelon in the ACC. And I need to be fair, the ACC the last couple of years has not been as top notch. Last year you did have Duke and North Carolina make it to the finals, but North Carolina was an 8th seed, I think, last year going in.
Correct.
And, Duke was last year with Krzyzewski. So it's like right now the ACC is going through a little bit of transition. UConn being in the Big East, and the Big East now is back to what it used to be, I think.
They're getting there. Because Marquette's really good.
You got Marquette's really good.
Shaka
They didn't
Smart.
make it.
St. John's is gonna come roaring
St.
back
John's
now.
with Patino now.
Patino. Creighton is Creighton. He's always
their
solid.
coach is always solid. So they have a lot of good teams, and
the Big 12.
you got to give it up.
Is,
you got to give it up. The AD of UConn getting them back in the Big East was the best thing that could ever happen to them because they're traditionally that everybody remembers the 80s with all the famous Georgetowns and the Syracuses and Connecticut when they started. I think 1990 was the first time they ever won the Big East. And now they're, since 99, have won 5 titles, more than any of the Blue Bloods. Hell, they got 5 titles. Kansas has 4 all time. I mean, it's ridiculous. Connecticut is a powerhouse.
Like I said, their old head coach was also a legend.
Calhoun had won 3.
He was
next coach comes in, and I love Hurley.
Oh, Hurley's
big fan of Dan Hurley.
Hurley's
if you've
good.
ever seen the E60 of him and his brother, what happened after the accident, how he almost didn't want to play basketball, it got him all messed up because he had to live up to the expectation of his brother and his father, who was an all-time great coach at the lower levels. But you have to have that pressure, and now to win one on your own. I mean, it's an awesome story. I mean, like I said, sucks it had to come to us, but I've always kind of been a fan of UConn. I like the program, and the best team won. At the end of the day, the best team won out of a madness tournament, which I can argue is probably one of the craziest, most fun tournaments. I mean, we didn't even say FAU made it. You had 2 teams from South Florida, which, remember, is the lowest rated in all the cities of all the regions in the United States. We have the lowest college basketball ratings.
And listen, and it was one shot away, right? FAU
They led the whole game.
FAU was in control.
They led the whole
FAU
game.
was in
They led the
control
whole
that
way.
entire game.
San Diego State, which was also an amazing story about their coach having his first year, his run. The guy had been an assistant for 20 plus years under Steve Fisher. I thought that was an awesome story.
Well, he
It had a
recruited
lot
the
of-
Fab Five.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys who recruited the Fab Five at Michigan.
He'd been to like 5 or 6 Final Fours on the bench. So he had experience. He might have not been a head coach, but the guy was as ready as you can ever be. So I thought the Madness had a lot of good stories, and not for nothing, when you're telling that kind of tournament, you need good stories, and we had them. Hell, we even lost Jim Nantz. It was his last Final Four run.
And listen, as unpredictable as this year's bracket was, one thing that sticks out to me, I think that the story of this year's tournament is the kind of shift away from the one and done, right? Because the teams that made it farther were more mature teams, guys that were not one and done guys. They were, experience heavy teams that were there on the team in the programs for multiple years, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and say that the one and done is dead, because there are gonna be those guys that are always going to be of that ilk, right? And of that talent level. But this was very telling, especially like we talked about NIL, right? Transfer portal. I think that we're going to see kind of a transition back to traditional basketball back in the day, where you had these teams where you had sophomores and juniors and seniors that are staying on for multiple years, building and developing together and building that chemistry.
Well, now there's no need to jump for money. You give me the excuses, man. I got to make that jump, got to make that money, I got to take care of my family, things of that nature. That's not the case anymore now because of the amount of money that they're making and what's going on. So again, and honestly, that was always one of the trademark things that I did when doing a bracket, was getting the teams with the most experience and the teams that had been there, because those kids are used to that type of atmosphere, that situation. You got to play in neutral courts, crowd, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think that this tournament does a lot for that ideology of, man, staying an extra year, maybe 2 years. And I think that will eventually help the NBA. Because to be honest with you, I think the NBA's product right now is a little stale because of that. There's a lot of one-and-done guys that are not really one-and-done guys.
They're doing their development in the
they're not
NBA.
all Kobe's and LeBrons, and
right.
you can skip college or just 1 year. And
so unfortunately, you get bad advice from agents. Obviously, they want you to get out early. Family members put pressure on you.
There's a lot of pressure.
Your boys are
Family
seeing
members
money.
put pressure on you to make that money.
A lot of pressure.
But I think now, obviously, with the NIL money, that will probably keep more people around because I don't need to go. I'm getting paid. And you stay a couple of years and get an education and make yourself better for the NBA.
You get a little bit of everything. And
that's how I think the NIL works.
Just in case the NBA doesn't work out, like you said, if you have that education, you got that degree, you got something to move forward on.
Yeah, and one thing, something that stood out to me that, the memory that I had was, I'm not sure if it was the Sweet 16 game or the Elite 8 game, FAU, where the announcer post-game is asking the head coach, hey, how impressive was this guy tonight? And he goes, he impresses me every day. He has an engineering degree. He's working on his master's. He's going to play in the NBA. He's a great human outside of a basketball player. And I was like, see, that's dope. That's the type of stories that we need to hear more of for these kids, especially down here in Florida, Coach, because you know that we deal with them every day.
No,
they have these delusions of grandeur.
And
FAU, they ain't that type of dude.
FAU is spending money on their athletic program, because again, when you think about it, they went through Lane Kiffin in football, Taggart, and now.
Now the coach has to stick around though,
right?
That's the problem. He will get his
correct. Hopefully, he'll be there 3 to 5 years, and continue to build. I was
just gonna ask. You think he sticks around because he might strike while the iron's hot?
If he gets offered a big deal from, I don't know
how
any
well
like
doing their money.
I just don't like the Shaka Smarts of the world. Shout out Kenyon College, class of 2001. He took VCU to the tournament a couple times and then jumped for the Texas.
But coach, he was there for years though.
Right, but then he fizzled out at Texas.
But he was
didn't work out.
offered a job at Texas.
No, 100%. But like sometimes, what I guess what I'm saying is the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
It isn't, but that's what you got to do.
But if
now he got the green though.
You're not going to say no.
But the problem is, this is my contention with that. If you've built the program, because Shaka was there for like 5 or 6 years.
No,
you get me. So again, he built that program, built his resume, and then got his opportunity. Right. Great, not a problem. My thing is that it's the one and dones, 2 years, and I'm out.
Right. He did like anybody who goes to college 4 or 5 years. He was there 4 or 5 years. He got a better opportunity. It didn't work out for him, but now he has an awfully good opportunity. He has enough credit that he was able to go to a place like Marquette,
right?
Which might be compared to Texas
a step down, but
it's still a basketball school.
It's a Big East school. It's a known commodity. It's been around. From the Jerry Maguire, I think.
He had a great team.
Dwayne Wade.
He built a great team.
Yeah.
Did some good things, and again, it's one of those teams that. Now, the thing is that there's so much. The problem is there's so much talent everywhere. That's different than there was 30 years ago,
right?
50 years ago. There's just the talent right now abounds,
and it's leveling.
Oh, it's everywhere.
It's leveling.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And with the transfer portal, you're able to get some 5-star kids that aren't playing.
Right.
And they come and they can play. Now, with that being said, I would like to see the kids stick around for 2 years. Because again, those guys are there, they're a flash in the pan and they're out. I mean, that doesn't...
It always, like, I guess what I'm saying is, and don't get it twisted, like, I probably make that decision too. Like, I get a huge contract deal, I'm out too, more than likely. However, like what you just said, right? It's always fun to think about and kind of like, damn, like, what could have been, right? If they stick around, like, and hopefully he does stick around and builds FAU into something greater than a 1 year wonder.
But those programs, okay, the thing is with those programs
stepping stones. Right?
Yeah, they all have a shelf life.
Right.
You get me? The thing is that those programs only have a shelf life for so many years. Just like the Butlers. There's only so much of a shelf life as far as recruiting is concerned and getting all the dynamics. They're never going to become like the Gonzaga.
Hold on.
Like a Gonzaga.
But I was just about to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. That was Gonzaga once upon a time. That was St. Mary's once upon a time.
No, but St. Mary's will go back to being St. Mary's. And you'll see. To me, Gonzaga and few did things.
But what I'm saying once upon a time is they were that school and they built themselves into basketball schools.
But the thing with Gonzaga is, and few is, he's been able to bring European players to play.
Yeah.
And that has helped him in recruiting and helped him continue.
Gonzaga is considered a blue blood now.
It is, correct. But like I said, there was a transition.
It took 25 years.
Of course.
Right.
But that's
I'd
how it
say
is.
like 10 years.
No, it's been about 15, almost 20.
I'm saying the last 5 to 7 years.
Yes, they're now elite.
Well, I'm
Yes.
saying it took from 99.
So
we're saying about 10 to 15 years.
But,
99 would be 24
no,
years.
yeah, but he's talking about it took him 15 years
Right.
to become there, and then
They were a number
continue
one
to rise.
seed in the tournament 7 years ago.
Right.
I mean,
But
they
what-
wouldn't get a number one seed when
Right.
they were 30-2 in
Back in the
99.
day, right.
They
It
were
also
still
helps-
like a
But
11.
what he's done is, and this is
FAU
again,
was 30-3
yes, but
and a
remember
9 seed. But I'm saying
they lost
nobody.
because they lost, but they lost to mediocre teams.
Correct.
In the SEC.
But they're not known yet.
Right. What I'm trying to say
It's gonna
again,
take a while.
I go back to Gonzaga. Gonzaga was able to get. I don't know if it's because of their proximity to where they are over on the West Coast. They were able to get European players and sprinkle them in with the other guys. And he just built that program. I don't know if an FAU can do that.
One, it helps that the Pac-12 has been down for a long time.
Of course, yeah.
Except for like an Arizona or UCLA. But they have the whole Northwest. They own the whole Northwest. And like you said, same coach, they've been in the tournament 24 years in a row. That is going to build. Butler, back-to-back national championship games. They might not be as hot right now, but they got put in the Big East. They got put in from being a mid-major to now in a big conference. So the thing is, they were moved because they have a little bit of that cred. They lost, if
They
their
built
coach
up some equity.
The coach Bradley, right, the one from the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have stuck around, they could have been a juggernaut like Gonzaga. Is what I'm thinking.
I mean, again, but that's the thing that a lot of these guys.
You're not going to have a lot of
don't see
feuds.
it.
You're not going to have a lot of guys that stick around.
That's it. They don't see it that way. And like I said, that program has a shelf life. Yeah. They know that they've got a 5-year window that they can get in, make it happen, and they got to go. Not everybody is going to be a Mark Few that sets down roots and says, we're here for the long haul, and we're gonna run it and make it a blue blood. So again, we'll see what happens with FAU. I am impressed with, like I said before, they have been willing to spend the money.
Right.
They are bettering their facilities. They're doing a lot of different things
The
now.
investment's
They're
been
making
there.
a name for themselves, and
to build
all
a
that
brand.
will help them in the next few
Correct,
years.
to build that brand.
I'd like to transition a little bit to the ladies' side because
Yes, sir.
I never thought I'd be interested in watching, ladies basketball. The product has not been as good all these years. It's very predictable. You could say 5 or 6 teams, and I'm stretching it.
Yes, you are.
I'm stretching it because UConn had been in the Final Four 15 years in a row. Growing up, the Tennessees
And won 13 out of them.
Yeah. And you watching the Tennessees growing up, always, if you're a number 1 or a number 2 seed, pencil it in. You're winning. This is the first year a 3 seed wins. Now you had that kind of like rivalry type with certain players. You had a player that could I see this girl obviously being
And I don't mean that in a bad way.
She's a baller. She's a baller.
being a Kane fan and seeing our ladies get to the number 8, and as always, because the reason you have the 1 and 2s and all the top seeds go is in the women's game. Your first 2 games in the tournament, if you're 1 through 4, you get to play at home. Obviously, it's because the women's game hasn't, to me, honestly, generated enough money that they could get the neutral sites for all the games.
Correct.
And maybe down the road, that's what eventually will happen. But man, see all the upsets.
I heard some this morning, which again would not be a terrible thing. Having them play before the men.
The whole tournament?
No, or the final, or the final 4 be at the same spot as the men's, and they play earlier.
Yeah, but
the men play later on.
Everything's neutral after the
Right.
final.
No, but he's saying at the same location.
What I'm
like
talking
same
about is the
site.
same location.
Right.
So that would be number one. We could play on a Sunday and not worry about a Monday night at 9:30 at night trying to stay up to watch this game. And it would be a nice way to bring in and
Right.
create a
Bring
little bit
some
more
eyes.
buzz and the money situation. Things like that for the women. Because again, I'm sorry. The women's game does not create the buzz yet. It's still a few years away. This year was good.
The ratings
This year was
were
excellent.
the best they've ever had.
Correct.
Is it
Outrating
safe
probably the
to
men's
say,
this year.
Is it safe to say that the women's game is where the men's game was about 25, 30 years ago? Like we just mentioned,
know,
that
15 or 20.
There's a disparity
Yeah,
in the
of
talent.
course.
So you have the haves and the have-nots, and it's going to be a little lagging a little bit. And eventually it'll get to where the
because
the
enough
men's
girls
game
are
is.
playing basketball,
Right.
enough things are going on, that yes, it will be to a point where they'll be really good.
The portal helps out also
So-
for them because
Well, the LSU coach, this is her 4th national championship,
correct.
and I've never heard of the lady.
Yeah, you won at Baylor.
No, I heard of Kill Monkey. She 3 times winner at Baylor, first woman's coach to win in two different
schools,
team
right.
schools. She won in her second year in LSU, but once again, she got a lot of help with the portal. Angel Reese came from Maryland and
Correct.
transferred over.
She was there for 2 years. She was at Maryland for 2 years. I
She's
read
a
about that.
Maryland girl, so it's like you're taking a girl to go. Why? Because she went, I'm going to play for this amazing coach. And this is probably going to get me even more, hype. It's going to happen more for the ladies where they're able to transfer like that. And once again, that will help even out and make it a little bit more.
It's also the best players also stick around, right? Because there's no as much of an incentive, to go and go into the pro game because they don't make
that kind of money.
They don't make
They're gonna
that
have
money.
to play overseas like the other
Right.
girls. But I watched a little bit of Diana Taurasi and I think Sue Bird because they're doing the same thing like Peyton Manning was doing for the NFL games, and they're saying they don't think this generation from now on is gonna have to go play overseas. The NIL money is making them money. More money,
endorsements.
More money will be. Because the good thing is that the NBA players back. They're
Right.
very into the WNBA and women's
Well,
basketball.
the NBA funds the
That's
the
your
WNBA.
biggest, but that's your, you're getting constantly Steph Curry,
But eventually,
LeBron, and all these guys.
Eventually, okay, for them to succeed, okay, it has to become a watchable product. People have to want to watch it, because don't forget, all these professional leagues have blown up because of TV contracts. No other reason.
Right.
That's where the money's at.
For sure.
And no one's going to pay big money if your numbers are down and nobody's going to watch the commercials, and the commercials are going to pay you X amount of thousands of dollars or millions when it's the Super Bowl, millions of dollars.
I mean,
the Final Four, again, it's millions of dollars.
What was it like? What was it? There was like a consecutive streak of the best player in college basketball going into the WNBA, winning Rookie of the Year, winning MVP, and winning the finals because they were just better than everybody else. Right? That happened like several times.
So that's why until it becomes a more marketable product, and people watch it, they'll continue to lose money because they're losing money now.
Right.
As much as the NBA,
it's a loss leader for the NBA.
Right, as much as the NBA, I mean, maybe it's
it's propped up by the NBA.
Maybe it's a tax situation.
But not that we're trying to to poo poo on the sport, but it's true.
I'm just I'm just trying to say that side of it cannot progress.
It's probably one of the larger write-offs that they have.
I'm saying until there's a good, and I know that sometimes they do play on TV, but the numbers and
It doesn't warrant it.
the ratings are not. They just don't make money.
Especially when you have a couple like 2 or 3 boss teams, and then everything else is just very mediocre.
I think this year is the start of them getting.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I said what I
created a
said.
buzz.
I believe for sure college ball is gonna get even more and more.
It created a buzz. It needs to keep it going.
It will keep going, I believe, as long as it transitions.
That's why this stupidity about the taunting was actually good for the sport, right? It got more eyes on it. It created a buzz. People talked about it.
Again, my whole thing is
As stupid as I think it is.
I just hate. Well, listen, there's an argument on both sides.
Listen,
right?
am I old school?
Hey, did she go over the line after the game? Okay, I get it. She should have done it during the game, which is usually when you do taunt. At the end of the game, you shake hands and you're like, good game, whatever. So she made it a little bit more personal. No. Again, it doesn't matter to me. My
the
issue
other girl
comes in.
did it in the Louisville game at the end anyway. So
but I don't think she did it to Louisville. She did it to her bench or
She
to her
did it
kids.
to Louisville. She did it to Louisville.
Well, I don't know. Again, I saw the video. She went like this. She was
Well, they didn't show it, but they said it was directed at Louisville.
Well, but again,
The point was that she did it quickly, and the other girl did it a little longer.
right? She kept chasing her around the court, which again, to me, that's childish. Whatever.
And once again,
I don't care.
Are optics, and then stupid people will say stupid
The
things
racist thing.
on Twitter.
That's the thing that drives me crazy when you on one side, she's I'm good.
But
I'm getting
media. That's a media.
It's a media-driven
It's just so
situation.
stupid.
That girl is doing what she's been doing all year
And
long.
Clark did a
I
great
could care
job
less.
of saying, "Hey, you know what? Kudos to her. She won. That's part of the game. That's
Not
what
to
makes things
mention,
interesting."
Clark has been owned by this girl. She got beat twice against her in Maryland, and pretty much I saw pictures of her taunting her after those games too. So to me, I think it's water under the bridge. If it's a bunch of dudes, this is literally not talked about at all.
Nothing.
It's just this is
Well, if it's a bunch of dudes, there might be some fights.
right.
Right, but this is also this is also literally what sports are today. Like from Pop Warner all the way up the ranks
Everybody
into
show books
professional.
now. Everybody has
this is
their
part
swag.
of the game. Now, 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, that's a fight. But
It doesn't matter.
you see it every day in every sport now, from the top down. So, speaking of top down, let's jump up into the professional as the NBA season draws to a close here. We got a tight race, especially in the West here for 6, 7, and 8 seed. Los Angeles Lakers, right? Surprisingly, they were 10 and 6 or something like that, or 10 and 4 without LeBron. They kind of held down the fort for him to get back, and now they're knocking on the door of the 6th seed and about to get out of the, they may need a couple games, for other teams to lose a game here or there, but they're very possible they end up in the 6th seed and out of the play-in tournament.
Everybody in the West wants to be the 6th seed.
They're very much alive right now.
The 6th seed is the most coveted spot in the West because that means you get to play the Kings, who haven't made the playoffs in about 20 years, who, as awesome as they've been playing, I mean, it's hard to watch Sacramento Kings basketball. It's not like something I'm staying up. But the highlights and stuff I've seen, hungry young team, but you're going to get, if you play the Lakers with that squad now playing at their level against the Kings, I'm sorry to say, it's not going to be pretty for the Kings. I'm thinking everything LeBron did was orchestrated perfectly. He broke Kareem's record. He happened to get a little hurt. He took his month break. AD finally became AD again.
Yeah, exactly.
The guys that they got rid of, Westbrook and Beverly, great to get rid of those guys. And the guys they've brought in are the type of guys that this team needed. And in a West where, we've been saying all year long, 5th place all the way to 11th place is separated by 3 games. You know what I'm saying? And of all these things, the thing I'm looking at the most is the Dallas Mavericks are not going to even make the play-in, and they traded for Kyrie. That to me is sad. 7 and 12 since Kyrie got traded to that team. I mean, to not even make the play-in.
I mean, listen,
joke.
That was an all-time gamble by the Mavericks and Mark Cuban.
Once again, Mark Cuban, you failed, sir.
They knew that picking up Kyrie and trading for him, that they were going to put up points, right? And they were going to be really, they were going to be dynamic on the offensive side of the ball. But they also knew that they would not be able to guard a freaking pylon standing in the middle, of the court, right? Like they are turnstiles defensively.
Yeah, and then you have KD now back with the Suns. They haven't lost since he's been in the lineup because he was, remember her for a couple weeks there. That to me right there is the team that should be scared, like you should be scared of the most. I don't trust any of the top 3 in the West because, Denver, they choke every year. Memphis, the stuff with Ja, we'll see if that team puts it together. Like I said, the Kings, we're looking at circled the Suns, and weird to see the Lakers. And what would be hilarious if the Lakers get even to the 5th spot, you'd have LeBron versus KD in the first round, which would be, to me, a shame. So because at the 6th, at least you could potentially get that in the conference finals.
So I've heard this debated on several other programs today, and I want to throw this out to you, gentlemen. Right? They were talking about, would you rather be the 6th seed or the 5th seed? Right?
I just said
because if you're but I'm reiterating, if you're the 6th seed, right, like you said, you play the Kings. If you're the 5th seed, you play the Suns. Yeah. But here's my thing: I'm going to look at it from a different angle.
Okay.
Wouldn't you maybe want to face the Suns in the first round before KD and Booker and all them get ahead of steam and gel?
They're doing that. They haven't lost with him.
But I'm saying, like, again, the more games they play, the more.
No, I want the easier route to start.
Again, I'm throwing that out there.
I want the team that's wet behind the ears, that doesn't know what it's about to do, instead of a team that 2 years ago was in the NBA Finals, and then you have the greatest shooter probably of all time on that team. In your first round, I know the Lakers are playing hot, but I think they would not want that. In fact, if they can lose a game to make sure they stay at the 6, you'll see that.
Oh, there's going to be...
Everybody's going to want to be
they're
the
in the 7 right now.
Again, no, I know that, but they're a half game. They play the Clippers 2 games from now.
Let me be clear. I'm agreeing with you.
Golden State might be the sleeper.
Well, Golden State
comes back.
Golden State needs Wiggins. Once again, another team. See, here's the thing. This is the year where your top 3 seeds are vulnerable. And the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and 4th, you're going to have KD, LeBron, Steph, all the teams trying to get over them. So, like, it's not an easy road for any of the top seeds. It's going to be fun. The West is going to be fun. The East, to me, it's Boston. It's Milwaukee. Maybe the Sixers if, Embiid and company can get it together. But, I mean, the East, what do we got? The Knicks, the Cavs. Come on.
And look at the Brooklyn Nets.
They're playing nice.
Staying in the 6th seed and making something happen.
It is the East. The East sucks.
And they got rid of their cancers.
They got rid of all their cancers, and they got a bunch of players. They got a bunch of guys balling. And once again, it's the East. I mean, the Heat, needed to beat Brooklyn, who have swept us basically this year. And we lost at home by 30 to them.
Yeah, look bad.
The Heat are so up and down.
Super unpredictable.
I'm not really sold on getting in the playoffs and they're just going to turn it on. I'm a big fan, obviously, but I expect a first-round exit for the Heat. It's chalk in the East. It's going to be Milwaukee and Boston in your finals. Flip a coin. Who's going to have a better series? Tatum, Giannis. I don't see anything else in the East that, like, is stunning to me. The West is where all the drama is going to be at. Your champion might not be from there because Milwaukee or Boston could probably win it all, but the West is fun. The West is where you're going to watch.
Yeah,
all the stories are there. All the fun, all the great players to me are all in the West. So it'll be fun. But like I said, I could care less about regular season basketball. We're almost over. One more week, and it's the fun times.
There it is, baby. Great start to the show after a nice little layoff, gentlemen. We're going to be right back with our bread and butter, some NFL talk. We're back for our NFL segment. We had a hot debate off mic here. Right now, we're going to continue it on the air. We're going to jump right into it, talking about the Lamar Jackson saga and his continued pending contract negotiations. Just to bring you up to speed here, if you haven't been locked in,
if you've been hiding in a cave or under a rock,
the Baltimore Ravens tagged Lamar Jackson with the what's it called?
The non-exclusive.
The non-exclusive tag. I want to make sure I had that term right, which is essentially $33.5 million.
Well, what happens is, with the tag, you're going to get paid according to the top
3, right? They
five.
average.
I want to say it's the top 5 quarterbacks in the league or top
Whatever,
5
it's top-
contracts.
right,
whatever the
contracts.
case is. When you have
For the year.
right, when you have an exclusive tag, that means that's it.
It jumps to 40-something million.
Right, but you can't sign with anybody else.
Correct.
No one can offer anything. Nothing can happen.
It's a take it or leave it proposition.
When you have the non-exclusive, now people can trade for him. They would have to give up 2 number ones to be able to trade.
So here's the thing with the 2 number ones, right? That is the base starting point. However, which is proven because they did it with Devontae Adams a couple years ago. The Raiders did that. It doesn't have to be the 2 ones,
It
right?
could be a 1 and probably a couple 2s or some other
It
stuff.
can be negotiated.
It could be negotiated,
Could be
right? It
negotiated.
doesn't have to be the 2 number ones.
But again,
They're going to want the 2 ones.
But
though.
again,
No, but they can trade. But what they
Yes.
did with Devontae Adams is they traded a 1 plus players
But-
and money.
like I said, in the gist of it,
Right.
it's 2 ones. It's what's in the language.
Correct.
Okay, for you to be able to make that move.
Yes.
because we are tagging him as one of our franchise.
And it's
guys.
also like a sign and trade situation as well.
So, okay. So that's where Lamar is at. And we were discussing the contracts and who's the highest paid quarterback. Number 1 highest paid quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. He tops the $50 million a year situation. He has 3 years at $150.8 million contract.
Is that his tag number? Because he's going to make his dollar amount number is 59, almost 60 million.
Well, again,
but I think against the tag or against the cap,
when they made his contract, it's
Right.
a 50,
It was an average.
It's 50.3 million. Second was Russell Wilson at 49 million, a 5-year contract worth 245. Kyler Murray was 3. Deshaun Watson 4 at an average of 46 million a year. Kyler Murray's at 46.1, so on and so forth. And you get down to Lamar right now, who is making 32.4 on the tag. Now, if we talk about guaranteed monies, that's where I think a lot of the problem comes in, because Deshaun Watson has the contract fully guaranteed, which only a moron would do.
Which is the
Cleveland
Cleveland Browns or
Shout out to
morons.
Shout out to Shani.
Yep.
So
Way
with
to go, Shanny.
With that being said, the next dumb team is Kyler Murray's team, the Arizona Cardinals, which guaranteed him $189.5 million.
Yeah. Which, as of we just found out today, the owner is under allegations of cheating. I wonder why.
There's a whole bunch of allegations going on, and again, it's the NFL.
Dumb guy.
So here is a quarterback that is hurt, hasn't done what he needs to do, and they're giving him, because they panic, $190 million. Then the next guy
with a clause saying, "Hey, you need to study and you can't play video games during the week."
because it hurt his feelings. Moving right along, Russell Wilson at $161 million guaranteed. Back to Aaron Rodgers at $150. Josh at $150. Patrick Mahomes, which is dirt cheap, $141 million guaranteed, etc., etc. So we get to the Lamar Jackson situation. The deal that was offered to Lamar was a $175 million guarantee with $133 million fully guaranteed, and they proposed a deal of $175 in total guarantees.
If he got injured,
There was I'm saying there was
it was 133 at signing,
There was
175 if he got injured.
I'm saying in total guarantees, there was
Right.
a $42 million injury guarantee, okay, that would have been shifted to a full guarantee early over the course of the contract.
Well, coach, and I'm just looking it up right now. It would have jumped to 200 million springing
Yes.
guarantee if he was on the roster on the 5th day of the 2026.
Coach, I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, my bad.
They offered him, he had it was a solid contract. But again, I believe that number one, when you negotiate for yourself, okay, things are going to be said in a negotiation room that you're not going to
There's no buffer.
You're not going to like them. It's going to hurt it's going to bother you. You're going to get out of there pissed off, thinking they don't like you, they don't love you, they don't want you. No, it's a negotiation table. That's why you have the agents, and the agents are the buffer. The agents are the ones that go in and are able to talk, and they don't have feelings. They're only looking at the black and white. They're looking at the money. What can I get my client? What are you offering? Well, I don't think that's fair, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I do think that he has turned his nose up at a lot of money for no reason.
Okay, and here's my thing. We discussed it off air, and I think that we kind of agreed on this, right? We see both sides of
Can
it.
someone let him know he'd probably get this done if he had an agent? Just throwing it out there.
Right. There's a lot of ways to massage the numbers here, right? With a higher signing.
Sir,
sorry.
just because we're talking about Deshaun
Sorry.
Watson's contract, we don't need to mention massages.
You got me.
For
No
goodness
massage.
sakes.
You got me.
Can we get off of that?
He
Can we
walked
move
right
on?
into that one.
Can we please move
No,
on?
take it. I'm taking it.
All right,
Taking
come
it.
on now. Let's keep going.
He walked
Let's-
right into it and just jumped on the table
Boy,
ready
yes,
for
he
it.
did.
There's-
Yeah, oiled
there's
up
a-
and all, ready to
Oiled
go.
up.
There's a lot of ways to maneuver the money.
Okay.
Okay.
You could be Lamar's personal massage.
I mean,
I mean,
yeah, I'm sure you would.
The way you talk about him,
Yes.
listen, I'm good. The price
the way
is right.
you look at Lamar is the way I want someone to look at me for the rest of my life.
Listen,
That's all I know.
I don't think we're moving on amicably. I don't think that it is so much the Deshaun Watson number as it is the guarantee that Kyler Murray got, right? And he's a better quarterback.
But that's not what he was talking about. He talked about 5 years guaranteed.
Understood, coach. But if they gave him more guaranteed money than Kyler Murray, I think this deal would have been done already.
Coach, hey,
No, at signing, that's contingencies of those that
Coach,
guaranteed
because
money.
they're
is-
not dumb, Coach.
I understand, coach. I get you. And I'm
Arizona's
not-
on the hook now.
I'm not disagreeing.
For what is it? $40 million, $46.1 million
Coachy.
dollars, and this kid won't play half the season this year.
Coachy, I get you.
and they got rid of the coach that liked him, and whoever comes
I
in might
100
not like
I
him.
100% agree with you there.
Good luck.
But at signing, you're getting less guaranteed money, over $50 million less than that Jamoke, who hasn't scratched your numbers and your awards and your accolades. Come on. Like, we're not talking. I think we all agree
where's
that we're
the-
not going to go.
No, and by
I
the
think-
way,
Where's the line?
they
I think
did-
we-
Why,
then they did decrease it to 3 years to make them a little bit more
Again,
content or
but I
whatever.
think we agree that it's not going to get to the Deshaun Watson number.
No, it never is.
But you got to give him more than Kyler Murray.
You don't have to.
Kyler Murray
Coach,
hasn't even
I don't,
You don't have
scratched.
to
but
do
I don't
anything,
think. Okay,
sir.
exactly. That's number one. Number two, I think paying him in excess of $45 million a year guaranteed money when he's been hurt the last 2 years
Coach.
is a bad investment.
But hurt the last 2 years on a fabrication, okay? Because the guy's missed a total of 12 games in his 5 or 6 year career. 5 of them last year, right? And then 5 this year, which was his decision.
5 and 5 is 10.
Yeah, and before that, he only missed 2 games before that. He's only missed a total of like 12
So
games.
you're saying the last 2 games of the season, he just threw his legs up and said, "I'm hurt."
No, this past
This season, he's the last 2 games. No, because he was hurt the 3.
He said he
was
made
hurt.
a business decision, is what he's saying.
Right, but he
I'm
was
not going to
hurt,
play
but he
if I'm
was-
not going to
and
get the
He
money.
was hurt for 3 games.
and his
Yes.
teammates
'Cause I
backed
do know
him.
he was for 3.
And his teammates backed him
I
on
get
that
it.
decision.
That's
And the
great.
way he plays the
That's
game,
fantastic.
he's only going to get hurt, man. The older the guy gets,
That's
the
the
more
other-
chances
that's
he's
the
going to
other
get
side.
hurt
But that's-
for playing the way he plays.
Okay, but that's also like a cost fallacy situation here.
Correct.
Because it only takes one hit.
I get it. But I guarantee you, he is not a Raven
he's
next
not-
year. They're
Coach,
not going to pay
but I'm
him
gonna-
the
okay,
money.
And he's not a Josh Allen that's a reckless runner.
But,
He's not one of these passers. He knows how to slide. He knows how to get out of bounds.
But he's light. He's not a big guy. Josh will eventually start. Again, he's already started breaking down this year.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
and he's a big
and he's
guy.
a big guy. Now, with that being said,
Because he wants to act
Lamar-
like a bulldozer.
No. Again, no argument. Lamar is already starting to show wear and tear, and football is football, and everybody on the field is fast and big now. There isn't anybody that's a 3-star recruit. Everybody
I
there
personally think
is
the
a
best
baller.
of Lamar Jackson is behind
It's
us.
behind him. I agree.
Oof.
No, I do. I agree.
Listen.
I think so.
Not to mention, I thought he was overrated from the beginning.
Bottom line, this
So-
dude has single-handedly carried that organization since he
right.
entered the league. He has one of the highest. Well, he does have the highest percentage all time of
And I think,
offense
and I
created
think
for
that
a
they're
team.
and I think they're being fair in what they're offering him. I think that he got
What else
I
has
think
he
he
done
would-
in the playoffs, though?
he got too far ahead of himself.
Coach, but by himself, half the team. Their medical staff should have gotten all freaking fired. There should have been an investigation for how many ACLs were torn last year. This year, same thing. They were ravaged by injuries. I don't know what's going on in that organization in terms of like
Sure,
in
a
terms
physical
of,
football team.
But in terms
what
of
it is.
in terms of strength and
All the
conditioning,
years that they didn't get hurt
They're
for
a
playing that
phys-
physical is
they're a
catching up.
physical-
in terms
football
of
team.
strength and conditioning, I don't know what the hell's going on
They're
there.
a physical football
But
team.
we're
they
talking-
run
we're
the
talking-
rock.
we're
And
talking
since everybody's getting hurt,
Time out.
let's not get crazy
Time
and
out.
pay the quarterback
Time out.
and then have no money to pay anybody else.
We're talking non-contact ACL tears. That last season, there was 7 of them. That's
No, last year, yeah. The year, whatever, not this past season.
That's too much of
The
an
year
anomaly
before.
to not
Yeah,
pay
it wasn't
attention
this past
to.
season, it was the
Right,
year before.
the season
That
before.
they dropped 3
But they
running
al-
backs before
but
the
they
season
also
started.
had they also had a shitload of injuries this past season too.
Well, if I was Lamar, I wouldn't want to play for this team then. Because I don't want to be on a team that's going to get me hurt.
And I think that we.
I don't
So,
think, again,
I think we've
think,
seen the last of Lamar
here's the
Jackson and
thing.
Baltimore
Where's
Ravens.
the
jersey.
line?
I don't think they're going to, I don't think there's a team that's going to pay him.
Why are there
Because
no?
it's collusion. Because it's collusion.
God.
They're purposely not going to make this happen.
I think this full of it.
It's collusion. Now it's collusion.
But the
You
rest
don't-
of the
you don't
league
think-
doesn't collude to not let Daniel Jones make money and all these other people.
You don't think
Listen,
the
man.
owners are making a conscious decision to not allow this to happen because it's going to change the
To
guard.
Coach,
one
there's-
specific guy? What do you
Coach,
mean
there-
to change the guard?
there's
Deshaun
more-
Watson was the thing that they should have not let happen.
They're
Listen.
smart enough. The guys are smart enough to know. Well, I'm not going to pay him for again.
It's not collusion when
I'm gonna
they're
tell
like,
you right
I
now,
just don't wanna pay
In
this
the
guy.
NFL, the number one thing is winning. That's the number one thing is
Agreed.
winning. Okay, so if I know that I pay that guy $47 million, guarantees me I'm gonna win, and I've got a Super Bowl, and I'm gonna pay the guy
They don't
$47 million.
No,
I don't care about the collusion.
will-
I don't hear
They
that crap.
feel that
I will
that
say
it's not worth
this.
it.
I will say this. I don't think he's going to accomplish what he's trying to accomplish alone. I think he's going to have a Joe Burrow, right? A Jalen Hurts, all these other guys that are coming up for a contract to take the same stance that he's taking because he's not going to be able to accomplish it alone. He's gonna pull a Kurt Flood,
But they're not.
essentially.
But the
But the
problem
problem is
is
that they're
once
not
again-
because again they're okay. But all those quarterbacks that you named, their game and the way they play the game is completely different from how he plays.
Jalen Hurts doesn't run the ball.
Oh no, but Jalen Hurts is young. Jalen Hurts is young.
He's going to learn too. To
Jalen
not
Hurts is
run as
young.
much. But here's your
Okay.
thing.
Jalen Hurts
Guys,
is young.
I got you. Now
You're saying he doesn't have any help. When you pay that kind of money, how are you going to get him
can't
help?
get him
Again,
help.
I've explained this before. It's not how it was before with a lower salary cap. The salary cap is $225 million.
But the Baltimore Ravens aren't the Yankees paying that kind of money to everybody.
But you can't. First of all, they have a floor where they have to spend
Right.
a certain
They'll
amount of money.
spend enough.
It's right around. I think I want to say it's like 190 or 200 million, and the cap is 225. So you're kind of in that range. It's it's pennies at that point. We got to stop looking at
21% of my cap.
and historically, quarterbacks have been 35% of the cap, right around that range.
With what teams?
Look up the Jimmy Garoppolo contract with the San Francisco 49ers. At that time, it was like 137 million, and it was like 37% of the cap. Okay? So because the salary cap has gone up to 225 million, we can't look at the dollar amount as much as what percentage is it taking.
I didn't know
of the cap.
Garoppolo ever got that kind of money. That's crazy.
He signed a $137
I know.
million contract.
Stupid Niners.
And at that
And he
point,
played 4 games.
that
That guy played. That
And
gives,
they drafted another guy.
that's even more to my argument.
They drafted another guy that never saw the field.
listen
That's
to-
even more my
but
argument.
listen to what
I
I'm-
would be pointing at Jimmy and going, "You see what's happening?"
Okay, but listen to what I'm
You know,
saying.
look what they did. They got a Brock Purdy to lead them to the NFC Championship.
He took him to the Super Bowl, so
Yeah.
But listen to what I'm saying. We got to stop focusing so much on the
the
raw,
Niners
the
defense
raw
took them to
number.
a Super Bowl.
We got to stop focusing so much on the raw number and look at what
We
the
need to be
percentage
focusing on the fact that Lamar
is of the
Jackson
cap.
is not worth it. That's what I say right
Another
now.
thing that I was going to say about the whole other quarterbacks being on his side, with him not having an agent, right? That he also loses out on the leverage that these agencies have, right? By saying, "Hey, listen, this is our guy too. You're on his side. Listen, you're coming up for a contract, right? You got to be on his side." So we all, like a rising tide lifts all ships. Right, that type of situation. He loses out on that leverage that happens behind closed doors when he's going at it alone.
That's
so-
his choice.
Right, but I'm saying that's where he's losing out on, right? Because you have these other quarterbacks that are coming up for their deals, and they have agents.
Let me tell you, if Lamar would have had Drew Rosenhaus, that deal would have been done years ago.
I don't disagree with you.
the highest hit.
And I don't understand. If he wants to save a couple bucks not paying an agent so he can maximize what he's going to get, I just think
But listen,
it's foolish.
that's not something that isn't out of the ordinary. I mean, Laramie Tunsil just negotiated his own contract without an agent and became the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL.
Yeah, but offensive linemen like him are very few to come by.
Okay, but he did it though. He's done it twice. He's negotiated his own contract twice. right? So like he's.
Just goes to show you smoke more pot on TV. That'll get you where you're
But
going to
again,
go.
what I'm saying is that it's been done, and it's been done by many a players. Okay, he's just again a more high profile.
Talk about that guy going for the green
Sir,
twice.
I'm sorry to say that. No, hold on. Let me see another thing here.
So that being said, I know.
And who paid him? Houston, not a smart franchise either.
So that being said, right, we're gonna go off into a parallel track here, and the saga that is Aaron Rodgers at the Green Bay Packers.
Well, he was
and the New York Jets.
in the dark. While our pod was dark,
I think
so
you're
was
wrong
he.
on your percentages, by the way. Just to say, I think you're wrong on your percentages.
The usual.
Well, I mean, okay, whatever. We'll get back to it. Let's jump to Aaron
Okay,
Rodgers.
let's get back to it.
Prove me wrong at the end of the segment.
I'm working on it.
Okay, so Aaron Rodgers, right, came out of his darkness retreat.
Yeah, took a couple weeks to figure out if he was going to be a Jet or not. Supposedly he's a Jet. The Jets still haven't caved in because the Packers are like, wait a minute, what's the rush, man? We can wait till June so we can cut off a couple bucks. There's no rush to trade him to the Jets. And once again, the Jets are just being the Jets. Like even when they get the golden goose is still slippery. It's still not there. And when he gets there, what was the problem that he had with the Packers this year?
He didn't want to do any offseason.
He didn't have any offseason chemistry with his players. He's going to come into a whole new team. He's going to need all that chemistry. They think they're going to go to the Super Bowl year one with him. Good luck. Yet again, this is going to fail miserably for the Jets, a.k.a. Brett Favre 08. It's amazing how this just comes back to
the Jets were
symmetry.
The Jets were like 8-2 before Brett Favre got hurt. And,
Okay.
and the only reason, and they ended up what, like 10-7 or 10-6 or something like that, and because he was stubborn and didn't want to come out because he had that streak or whatever. And
There was no 10-6. They lost the last game to the Dolphins. We won that year and made it to the playoffs with Chad Pennington.
I'm telling you,
right
they
in
didn't make it.
his
They
face.
didn't make it to the playoffs. I'm
know.
saying, but they
lost
started out
5 of their
white
last
hot,
6 games.
and he tore
That's
his
fantastic.
bicep tendon in his arm.
That's great.
And that's when they went downhill the second
great.
half of the season.
And what do you think? Aaron Rodgers didn't hurt a finger last year, and it didn't affect him. I mean,
I get you.
He's
I'm just saying.
He's not going to be
so
the
what's
savior.
the other? So what's the other option
For who?
for the Jets?
No, they need to do this. They're
No,
desperate.
that's their move.
No, this is their move.
This is their move.
What I'm just saying
that's
is
what
it
I'm
doesn't
saying.
matter what they do. It will end in failure.
But Grizz,
That's all I'm
okay,
saying.
but what's a failure to you? What define failure? If they make it to the playoffs
That's fine.
and they win a game, that's a success.
Sure, with Aaron Rodgers, only a Super Bowl is a success when you're trading for Aaron
So
Rodgers.
making it to the AFC Championship game would be a failure.
Anything less than a Super Bowl championship for this team with all the hype they're talking about is a failure.
For someone who believes a chip in a chair, getting to the AFC Championship
Right.
game is a failure.
They're not getting to the AFC Championship game. Do
Listen,
you understand the gauntlet of
They
quarterbacks he has
had
to
the
go
best
through?
defense in the NFL last year.
That's fantastic.
You saw the stat.
What
If they
is-
scored 17
That's
points, they won the
fantastic.
game.
Yeah.
You don't think they're going to score 17 to 20 points a game
No.
with Aaron Rodgers?
How many did the Packers score on an average with that team? Not a lot either, man.
Okay, they got Garrett Wilson, who's
So you're saying right now with Aaron Rodgers, they're making it to the AFC Championship. You're saying that right now it's a fact.
I'm saying they have a very good shot.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm saying they have a very
They're
good
still
shot.
the third best team in the AFC.
Excuse me, gentlemen. I know
don't
that
know
this
about
conversation's
You're putting them
scintillating
ahead of the Bills and the Dolphins.
and super exciting. However,
I'm not putting them ahead of nobody, but you can have three teams.
No,
to make
they
it,
can make the playoffs, but
Right.
then we also have the Chiefs coming back, the Bengals coming back.
again. But you're in.
What's up with your boy? You think they could beat your boy Lamar? I mean, Lamar's the
you're
man.
in the tournament. You're in the tournament.
Rodgers going to the Jets does make them a contender.
That's what I'm saying.
In theory.
Correct. They have
But
a
what
good
I'm saying is they won't win 10 games
And
next
if
year.
they pick
No,
up, and if they-
you know the only reason I'll disagree with you? The only reason I'll disagree because I think their defense is
It's
a
elite.
very, very solid defense.
it's elite.
And I think with that defense, when an Aaron Rodgers and a running game, because again,
Brees Hall comes back.
those guys, with those guys, I can see
And
them
if they
winning.
get Odell Beckham Jr.?
Remember now, it's a 17-game season now. It's not like before.
I'm not a
It's
Odell Beckham
I'm not an
is-
OBJ guy.
Yeah, relax.
I'm a BJ fan, but I'm not OBJ.
Exactly.
as I was saying.
Guy was going to be the MVP if he didn't tear his ACL in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, my grandmother, she
That's
would
a
have had
game.
wheels. She would have had a
That's
bike.
one game.
He
Listen.
got him to the Super Bowl.
That's one game. The only thing
Again.
else that OBJ is famous for is his catch, and that's it.
I
You guys
think.
are
Other than
haters.
that,
I
what
think-
else is good? Just because he was an ex-Giant, don't
guy,
put this on the
bro.
Giant love, all right?
Bro,
Relax.
Giants.
He was one of he was the reason why the Rams catapulted and went on their run in the second half of the season. He went on a tear in the playoffs.
There wasn't a white.
I think they had
that's
a guy,
pretty good
Cooper
white
Kupp,
guy,
that
white
guy
and I
too.
think they had an amazing defense of their
made,
own.
It made the white guy's job a lot
It
easier.
helped. He was a nice
Yes.
addition.
Yes.
But
Look
he
at his
ain't,
not the
stat line in
guy.
the first half of the Super Bowl.
He's
Was I
not
watching a
the
different
guy.
game?
He's not the guy.
He's
Was
not-
I watching a different
he
game?
won't even
Okay.
be the top.
Can we get
one
back?
and two
Can we
on
get
the
back?
team.
But how do you know?
I don't.
I'm sorry, Coach,
That's
continue.
why I'm a pundit,
I
and
know.
I'm giving my opinion.
Okay, then
And my opinion is that the Jets won't win 10 games.
you were just coming at me hard about, can you guarantee that they're going to be in the AFC?
So put your mouth where your money is. I'm putting my mouth where my money is. They won't win 10 games.
I know you wanna crush me right now. Go
I
ahead.
think because of schedule.
Yeah.
I think because of their defense, they have a shot to win 11. I do.
Our schedule this year is the NFC East is who they play. It is one of the hardest schedules for us, the Dolphins, Bills, because we all play the same.
Right.
I would like to see
But again,
Aaron Rodgers a full season. Here's the problem.
and with
He'll
Aaron,
have a better chance year
played,
two.
Aaron has played them. He knows them. Again, I do think and again, because of their defense more so than their offense, I think their defense will give them opportunities.
And they're
going
to have a running game
to score. I think their defense is good.
Their
Now,
running game's the best
can
part
I go
of their
back
team.
Can I go back to the salary cap situation here?
All right, give it to
Not
me.
to mention,
He
let's real
did
quick.
sign for $137
There have
million.
only been a total of 12 instances of a quarterback salary cap hit exceeding 15% of the year's salary cap in the last 10 years.
Okay, continue.
And that was Eli Manning in 2013, 17%.
Okay, but coach, are you talking about the overall contract? Or are you talking about like
I'm talking about salary cap hit.
the first 3
cap
years?
hit. No, coach. I'm talking about cap
Because
hit.
Aaron Rodgers is making $60 million, but his cap hit is not.
Okay, percent of cap hit. You have Jimmy Garoppolo in 2018 of 20%. 2018, mind you. 20%, almost 21%, which was ridiculous. That's the highest guy. The very next guy, like I said, was Eli at 17. The next guy is Drew Brees at 16.6, which crippled the Saints.
But he's up there. He's the
Aaron-
highest, right?
Who? No,
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy, you're right. I said you were right.
Yeah.
I said you were right. You're okay. Every once in a while, I tell you when you're right. Aaron Rodgers, which was at 15.6 in 2019, and in 2020, Russell Wilson.
All right,
at
and that's
15.6.
also with the salary cap going raising,
But
right?
again-
So even though it's more money, it's
But like I
less
said-
of the cap.
No, but it's still okay. But that doesn't mean that I need to give the quarterback 21 or 22%.
but I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that they're the highest percentage of the cap, and with
No, they're always going to be the higher percentage of the cap, coach. But
Right.
again, your argument is that because the cap goes up, I should be paying my quarterback 21% of my
because
cap.
the overall cap is higher, so you can pay them more, and it's still the same
But
percentage.
not necessarily, because again, I have to pay my other players that are star players.
Coach, what's 20% of $100 million?
20 million. brother.
Okay, what's 20? Okay, so now what's if it's 200 million? What's how much percentage?
40 million.
Okay,
Which is what I said.
So it's so more money, but it's the still
But
same percentage.
Okay, but it should be okay. He wants more than 40 mil. I said 40 mil. And it was like, oh no, but that's not enough. Blah, 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 blah.
No, but I'm not saying enough. It's the guaranteed money because they don't have to give him the average. The average annual salary is 40,
Yes.
but year to year they may give him a lot of that
In a
on signing bonus,
yes.
and then his actual number is like 20.
They offered him a parcel of money. And again, I think he's letting his emotions get in the way of getting a decent contract, considering he'll never see the end of the 5 years. He might not see the end of the 4. He's lucky if he gets to 3. He's lucky if he gets to 3.
So you're saying that giving him a 5-year contract with, let's say, 195 guaranteed, which is more than Kyler Murray, which I think is what the sticking point is again. It doesn't have to be that salary every year.
Again.
They're gonna give him a fat chunk as a signing bonus
At the
up
end
front.
of the day, anything over 45 mil is a lot of money
What's
on that guy.
What's Deshaun's 46?
Kyler's 46-1. Deshaun is 46.
And then
those are two
Rodgers is
stupid
what,
contracts.
50 whatever?
Yeah, but Rodgers is it's 150 and it's 50 mil.
Right, and then it's prorated because it was only a 3-year contract,
Correct.
whatever.
So whatever. Russell Wilson is averaging 49 with 161 guaranteed. So again,
Which is a terrible contract as well.
like I said, just because you're giving out bad contracts doesn't mean I should jump in that line and say, yeah, I'm going to give out bad contracts.
Coach, and I'm not disagreeing with you there, but unfortunately, when the market gets reset with these contracts, the next man up is going to garner
He's got to be worth it. He's got to be worth it.
And at the end of the day, the Ravens right now
the
don't
other
believe it.
contracts around him have to be there, and they got to be able. Again, you have to understand the Eagles might get away with a $50 million contract to Jalen Hurts because the other contracts are a little bit friendlier and they're a little bit more down the road.
And they're probably going to sign him on. They're going to pick up the option.
Not to mention, you do it early.
Right.
You save.
That's what I'm saying.
Like the Chiefs.
And they didn't do that with Deshaun or with
Lamar.
With Lamar. And that's where they screwed up.
Deep down,
But they've been trying though for 2 years, and he hasn't wanted to sign.
he didn't want, and I think deep down they're like, you're just not worth what you're asking. And if you're at that standstill, this is where we're at. So it's basically someone's playing chicken right now.
Okay, so where do you
the
think it
Ravens?
ends up?
I don't think are gonna
Coach,
move the car.
number one, I don't think he can afford to sit out the year. I think he needs to play. I really need. At this point, right now, he needs to play. And
he's going to lose on the prime of his
and with
years.
no lie, he needs to play the whole season to show everybody I can last a season. Because if you want to invest money in me, I got to show you I can play the 16, 17.
Yeah.
I might miss the 17th game of the season because we're in the playoffs.
Lamar's not going to be Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady lasting till his late 30s.
Because that's not his game.
His prime is now, and if he misses a year out of his prime, he's not gonna make the kind of money he wants. He's gonna I think end up having to.
But you don't
be
think,
the one that takes the loss.
He's proven that he can stay in the pocket and deliver the ball from the pocket. Right. He's done more running than what I think he wants to because of the lack of weapons. Like, you guys wouldn't agree with that?
Well, I think
so. You don't think that's an organizational issue in and of itself?
But I think he's a very okay. I think his tight end gets all the catches because he's very tight end oriented. I think he locks onto him a lot.
I don't think he gets name his receivers.
Because they did draft. They've tried to draft
which
receivers.
The guy hasn't been able to stay on the field.
Okay, but it's not like they haven't tried.
They haven't hit. They haven't hit on any of these guys.
I get it, but it's not like they have not tried.
Trade and get a dude.
Coach, it's not that easy, Coach.
I understand, Coach, but
it's not that easy.
But other teams do it, is what I'm saying.
Okay, other teams have had the opportunity to do it. They were not given the opportunity.
Look at the Eagles with AJ Green.
Okay, Tennessee was not going to trade that guy. Not AJ Green. AJ Brown.
AJ Brown? AJ Brown.
It's Brown.
Yeah,
Green.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. But look at what they did there. They got him a dude.
Okay, but again, the Tennessee wasn't going to do. Tennessee's not going to trade a guy into their own conference. I mean,
listen, I don't think this is not the last time we're going to talk about this.
We have plenty of time before the draft to talk about this.
Your last thoughts. Where do you think it ends up? Do you think we see him in a Baltimore Ravens uniform again? Do you think we see him in a Baltimore Ravens?
If not, he's sitting out the whole year.
If he sits out the whole year, he's gone.
And we're going to close up this jam-packed, lights-out show with our UFC talk, right? That's one of the hallmarks of our show. Right? We are avid followers, especially the coach. And not only do we have news about the business of UFC, but also we got a huge fight this weekend in our hometown in the 305.
Huge card.
Okay, so first, let's talk about the business side of what we just saw here. The UFC merges with WWE Entertainment.
It's more of a buyout. More of a buyout. And they've taken over WWE. Vince McMahon looking like Dwayne Dastardly with the colored hair and the mustache. He looks like an old movie. The guy that used to tie the girl to the train tracks for the star to come in on the horse. The good guy
Dude, it becomes
Dastardly Dan
becomes a $21 billion company now.
They've bought them for, I want to say, $7.9 billion. Great business situation for McMahon and his people, and I think they are going to keep him on to
executive vice chair.
to continue
Right.
running or being part of the creative side of it. We'll see. Again, I do think that I really haven't followed a lot of wrestling lately. I used to follow a lot of it back in the day. The storylines get a little stale. It's not the same. It's not the same. I do think AEW, the other wrestling brand, is bringing back a little bit of that old school
attitude era.
attitude and branding and storyline. So we'll see what happens now with WWE and how that works out.
So let me ask you a question here. What's the angle? Why merge? Right? You haven't because WWE.
But again, it's not a merger, Coach. Remember, it's not a merger. It's a buyout.
Okay, so WWE is entertainment, right? It's all
Correct.
scripted, whereas
Correct.
UFC is the premier MMA league.
Right.
How does one fit
Well,
in with the
beauty
other?
of it is, if you've noticed, there's a bunch of guys now that have made the transition from MMA to the WWE.
Once
Men
they're
and
washed
women.
up, for lack of a better term.
Men and women have moved from the WWE. I'm sorry, from MMA to the WWE. Why? Because a lot of them do have wrestling backgrounds. A lot of them were collegiate wrestlers. So that's like a next move in their lives. It's another way to be able to create income. It's another way to be able to create crowds. You can now not only are you going to have WWE stars at shows for UFC, but now you're going to have UFC stars there promoting. Don't forget, Mr. T fought many, many years ago in a WrestleMania.
Right.
So you can have some of these guys go and do a wrestling match because people understand that, yes, wrestling is all based on a script. It's not a real situation. So you can have those things. Boxers, Mike Tyson got involved in his heyday. So you're going to have a lot of guys that can go ahead that are your top main street, like a McGregor.
And do the transition and
they
the
can
crossover.
be there and they can do a wrestling match and come back. Rock can come over and be a guest announcer on an MMA fight. So all of a sudden, you're opening up all these different doors of entertainment, but still having your MMA professional fighters. And those guys have a chance later on to transition into a professional wrestling career.
So I had two thoughts, right? When I read the news. One, dare I say that WWE is less grueling than the MMA, and they can do a transition and still continue to make money, which is crazy to say, right? Because you have all these stories of dudes breaking their necks and their backs and stuff like that in WWE.
The problem with wrestling is that it's grueling because of the number of matches a week.
Right.
Don't forget that they're putting on shows almost 4 or 5 times a week in different venues.
Right.
Okay, they only televise 2. And then you have your pay-per-views and things like that.
Right.
But they have a circuit that they're on constantly going to different towns and wrestling.
Gotcha.
So it's again, that schedule is what's grueling.
My second thought was I already envisioned like a mega weekend of a UFC card together with WrestleMania.
Right, like a Saturday
mega event.
Right, a UFC big card on Saturday night, and then you follow it up with WrestleMania, SummerSlam, all these other different pay-per-views that the WWE has, which again, it ends up being a really nice look. I think it's going to work out really well. Don't forget Brock Lesnar.
Right, made the crossover both ways several times.
And fighting and being champion. He's a heck of a draw.
Ronda
Rousey's a champion. She's a champion again.
Ken Shamrock.
Again, there's
back in the day.
There's correct. Ken Shamrock went over as well and wrestled. So it is a natural move because, like I said, a lot of these guys have that wrestling background.
Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, may he rest in peace.
Amen.
Kimbo.
So let's go ahead and jump and close it out with the mega card that we have this weekend up in 305. Just a disclaimer, we tried to get tickets.
Yeah.
Until we saw that it was $700 a pop for the nosebleed section.
To be able to watch Ant or watch it on a screen, which we would do it at home anyway.
And that conversation ended really fast. But, is what it is. We'll be able to watch it at home in 4K, right? Barbecue, some adult beverages, and in the company of some good friends.
And pay a lot less than $700.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking here at some bet splits and handle, and there's a few fights that are going to be extremely interesting. The fight between Michael Chiesa And Li Jinglong is going to be a slobber knocker of a fight. Chisea is the favorite in that fight, but I think that Lee is going to give him a good battle. You've got a Curtis versus Kevin Gastelum, which I also think is going to be a big fight. I think Curtis has a good chance of beating Gastelum. You have a Joe Pyfer versus Gerald Michart. Meerschaert, he's done a bunch of stuff. Yes, it's Meerschaert. He's had a bunch of upsets here and there, but I don't think he'll be able to pull this one off. I think it's going to be a tough fight. I think Pyfer beats him. Then you go down and you take a look at the co-main event of George Masvidal against Gilbert Burns. I'm going to tell you, I may sprinkle something on George Masvidal.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's
surprising.
Man, I've been looking at it. I've been analyzing it. If Burns doesn't wrestle,
what's the line on that?
Well, right now Masvidal is almost at plus 400.
Oof.
And I'm looking at it, and everybody is betting Gilbert Burns. 72% of the bets are on Gilbert Burns. Only 40% of the money. My boy's only getting 28% of the bets, but 56% of the money.
Hometown, baby.
No, but it's not hometown. It's money. Again, it's not hometown. Only 28% of the bets. He's got the less number of bets, but more money. So I think smart money is on him. So I might end up taking him. The other side I was looking at now as well is the main event, which again, that's gonna be a toss-up. Adesanya was winning the fight in the first fight, and he got caught, and he ended up losing. To me, this fight is somewhat of a toss-up. Pereira is 2-0. I really don't know which way it's gonna go. If Adesanya can do what he does and kick, jab, punch,
keep him at
length, he has a chance. The thing is, if Pereira cuts off the ring and catches him in the corner, he can knock him out again. Pereira has that kind of power. Thing is, Pereira is old. Pereira is 36, 37 years old. He's a much older fighter. So that is also the advantage of the Adesanya, the style bender. So that's where I'm looking at there. Again, I might sprinkle something on Israel. I like Izzy a lot. I think Izzy's a phenomenal fighter.
He's got and he's been showing that he's working on his ground game, which obviously is his weakness. And that's
but Pereira's not a ground game guy. That's the thing. Pereira's a slugger. Pereira's a kickboxer. That's how he beat him the first time.
And so is Adesanya.
That's the problem. That's how Pereira is 2-0. Pereira beat him
at his own game.
And in kickboxing twice, and then beat him in the ring the last time they fought. So unless Izzy's going to wrestle, then that could be a brand new
another angle to
situation that again could give him an advantage. So, but again, it's going to be a great card. I really like it a lot. I think there's a bunch of good fights.
I'm
sorry, I overlooked one fight. The Kevin Holland Santiago Ponzibio fight. That is going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah,
Kevin Holland is a puncher. He's a madman, and Santiago is a Brazilian fighter, jiu-jitsu. He is very, very good. It's the only situation there is that Kevin Holland does have a huge 8-inch reach advantage,
and he brings the wood.
No, he's a horse. He's a heck of a puncher, and that's the problem. Santiago Ponzibio is old. Is about 38. 36. He's 36. So again, it's gonna be, but that's gonna be one of the better fights on the card. That's gonna be a great fight.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this fight, right? Like, and again, they keep you coming back for more, man. In this past, I want to say almost 2 years, the cards just keep getting better.
Man, and we haven't talked since before Bones Jones. I mean, Bones Jones showed what an amazing guy that is. What a waste of champion.
What could have been
career. If that guy could have just stayed away from the pot a little bit
Well, it wasn't even so much the pot.
but I'm saying he failed one.
It was the cocaine, and it was the needle.
But he failed one because of the pot. He failed the DUI. I mean, there's just so much out of ring issues, even a domestic abuse or violence issue. And that's what I'm saying.
Steroids, cocaine, pot, DUI.
Such an incredible fighter.
He lost 3 years of his prime, right?
Yeah, and he could have been. I mean, the king of the world.
Yeah,
he really is. I mean, he's just so nasty. He has all the tools.
And it was night.
No, it was quick. It was so quick.
It was like you blink and you're like, what the hell just happened?
I really thought Gagne would put up a better fight. I thought nothing.
Not even a sweat.
I'm the GOAT.
I think he got more tired in his warm-up pre-fight.
No, listen.
Than in
the ring work. The ring work that he did in practicing exhausted him 3 times more than what he did in the ring.
Insane.
So kudos to him. And again, some great fights.
I will say this, right, to close it on this, George Masvidal, hometown dude. I think this is his last hurrah. I think he needs a dub here.
He said it. He already came out and said it.
Okay.
He said, if I can't win this, I'm done. There's nothing else I can do.
Yeah.
I've got to win this one.
I think he needs the dub here.
I also think that, again, at plus 400, please, at plus 350, I'm going to wait a little bit closer to fight time to see if that goes up. If I can get 350, 360, I'll take him. Because I think that's a nice price.
Because he's another one that if he catches you, it's night.
He's taller, longer. So again, if he is able, if Burns comes in with a puncher's mentality, Burns can lose the fight. I love Durinho. I've followed him for years. He's made me a lot of money. I was one of the first guys that he said he would be champion, and he was, and he won. And so I love Gilbert Burns. I mean, his name is says it in and of itself.
Your namesake.
But I do think that if he doesn't come in with the right mindset and come in as a wrestler, I think Masvidal has a shot.
Yeah,
a really good shot.
Agreed, gentlemen. It has been a pleasure to get back on the mic with you guys after this our little hiatus. It's always fun. I want to go ahead and thank our sponsors, General Carnitas Premium Meat. Go ahead to generalcarnitas.com to check our selections of natural, grass-fed, non-GMO meat selection. Great for especially this weekend with this bomb card, right? There's nothing better than hanging out with some friends and, some drinks and some good meat. Also want to say shout out to Prodigy Coaches, tutoring and test prep. Go to prodigycoaches.com for all your test prep and tutoring needs. And finally, Prodigy Athletic Gear, okay, for all of your custom sportswear. This is 2 coaches, 1 Grizz. Out.